It was one of those nights when New York felt heavier than usual. The city lights glittered, but for some reason, they felt cold like distant stars in a sky that didn't care who looked up. I was walking home from my second shift at the diner. My feet ached, my jacket was too thin for November, and my mind was replaying the usual worries: rent, groceries, and whether my son, Leo, had remembered to do his homework. That's when I saw her. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9, sitting alone on a park bench near 63rd Street. Her pink backpack dangled from one arm, her shoes mismatched, and her face pale under the streetlight. At first, I thought maybe her parents were nearby. But minutes passed, and no one came. I hesitated. You don't just walk up to a child in New York and start talking. But something in her eyes, fear mixed with exhaustion, pulled me in. "Hey, kid," I said softly, keeping my distance. "You okay? Are you waiting for someone?" She looked up, startled. "My mom," she said. "She'd be back. But it's been really long." Her voice cracked a little. My heart twisted. "What's your name?" I asked. "Emma," she said. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." "That's good advice," I smiled gently. "My name's Jack. You can call me Mr. Jack if that feels safer." She hesitated, then nodded. "Mr. Jack, I'm really cold." I looked around, still no one. My instincts screamed something was wrong. I couldn't just leave her. So I called the local precinct, reported a found child, and wrapped my scarf around her tiny shoulders. "Don't worry," I said. "We'll figure it out." While waiting, I offered her some hot chocolate from a nearby cafe. She sat there, sipping slowly, glancing at every passing car, hoping one would stop. But none did. And when the officers arrived, I expected they'd find her parents in no time. But even after checking databases and calls, no one had reported her missing yet. It was like she'd vanished from thin air. They let me take temporary custody for the night since I was a verified resident and had a child myself. Emma clung to me as we walked to my apartment, a small, 2-bedroom place on the 5th floor. When we got inside, Leo, my 10-year-old, looked up from his homework. "Dad, who's that?" "This is Emma," I said. "She's just staying for the night until we find her mom." Leo grinned. "Cool. Want to play Minecraft?" Emma gave a shy nod. Watching them laugh together, something softened in me. I'd been living in survival mode since my wife passed 3 years ago. But that night, hearing 2 kids giggle under my roof again, it felt like home was breathing. The next morning, I made pancakes, burned half of them, as usual, and called the police for updates. Nothing. No leads. Days turned into a week. Then 2. And by then, Emma had become part of our rhythm. She helped Leo with homework, insisted on feeding our cat, Muffin, and loved sitting by the window drawing pictures of families holding hands. One evening, while tucking her in, she said quietly, "Mr. Jack, do you think my mom forgot me?" The question hit like a knife. I knelt beside her bed. "No, sweetheart. No mother forgets her child. Sometimes, life just gets messy. But I promise we'll find her." And I meant it. I didn't know that promise would change everything. It was 3 weeks later when the knock came. A tall woman stood at my door, dressed in a gray coat that looked more expensive than my rent. Her eyes, sharp, tired, and desperate, met mine. "Are you Jack Miller?" she asked. "Yes." Her voice trembled. I'm Emma's mother. I froze. My heart raced. You're what? Before I could process, Emma came running. Mommy. The woman fell to her knees, tears spilling as she hugged her daughter. I stood there, speechless, as relief and confusion crashed inside me. When they finally broke apart, she looked at me again. I've been searching everywhere. Someone took her from my car 2 months ago. The police thought it was a kidnapping. I blinked. Kidnapping, but, she said you left her at the park. She shook her head. No. She must have been dropped there when they panicked. Her story unfolded: a wealthy CEO named Clara Dawson, running a tech empire. She offered a ransom, worked with private investigators, but nothing. Until now. And somehow, I was the one who found her child. Over the next few days, Clara and I stayed in touch. She insisted on rewarding me, but I refused. I didn't do it for money, I said. I just couldn't leave her alone. That answer seemed to surprise her. Maybe she wasn't used to people saying no to her. She started visiting more often, bringing Emma to see Leo, baking cookies, helping me fix my leaky faucet like it was normal life. One evening, after the kids fell asleep, we sat on my fire escape watching the city lights flicker below. She said quietly, "You remind me what real kindness looks like. I live in a world where people only care about what they can get. But you just gave." I shrugged. Maybe because I know what it's like to lose everything. Her eyes softened. Your wife? Yeah. Cancer. 3 years ago. She looked down, whispering, "I'm sorry." And for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I'd buried: a spark. Not romance exactly. Something gentler. Hope. Weeks later, she invited me and Leo to her company's charity gala. I almost said no, felt out of place among billionaires, but Emma insisted. When we arrived, reporters flashed cameras, curious who the unknown man beside the CEO was. Clara smiled and introduced me not as a friend, but as the man who reminded me what family means. That night, she announced a foundation in my late wife's name to support single parents struggling to raise their kids. I was speechless. After the applause faded, Clara turned to me and said softly, "Jack, you didn't just save my daughter. You saved me too." Months passed. Our lives intertwined naturally. We never labeled what was happening, but every weekend together, every dinner, every quiet laugh, it felt right. One evening, Emma handed me a drawing. It showed 4 people: me, Leo, Clara, and her standing under a bright yellow sun. At the bottom, she'd written, "Family means finding each other." I'll never forget that. Because sometimes, fate doesn't just bring people together, it stitches broken pieces into something stronger. And in a city full of noise, greed, and loneliness, I found peace again through a lost little girl, and a woman who taught me that kindness can rebuild even the richest, or the most broken, hearts.